things I forgot to say last week, and then we'll pick up from where we left off, inshaAllah. When Ibrahim a.s. was giving dawah to his father and to his people, the words he used, or the pattern of his speech, was quite strange. Let me read the verse to you, inshaAllah. Surah 26, verse 77. Verily, they are enemies to me, save the Lord of the Alameen. They meaning the idols. Who has created me, it is he who guides me. It is he who feeds me and gives me to drink. Why is this strange? Those who are familiar with Arabic, at least little Arabic, they know some grammar, grammatical rules, they would know that the pronoun he, in Arabic huwa, is embedded in the word, in the verb of the sentence. That the man does not, or whoever's speaking, does not have to say he or she repeatedly. Once the subject is known in the conversation, they don't have to say this. It is assumed that the guy knows what you're talking about. And so it would be strange to do that, to say he, as you continue in a conversation. But look how Ibrahim speaks in his dawah. Verily they are enemies to me, save the Lord of the Alameen. So he's saying, I'm speaking about Allah. Lord of the Alameen, I'm speaking about Allah. So we know now who he's talking about. Then he continues, who has created me, and it is he who guides me. He who guides me. And it is he who feeds me. And when I'm ill, it is he who cures me. What's going on? Ibrahim a.s., he's tapping into the psyche of his audience. And we spoke about this before, that when someone gives dawah, they should know who they're speaking to. They should understand that with every recipient of your dawah requires a certain approach. The things you say to a Christian won't be the same thing you say to a Hindu. It'll be different. Likewise, he knows these people, they know that Allah exists. He knows they know Allah exists. That's why they worship these idols to begin with, because they recognize Allah exists. And so they already recognize that life, the ability to give life and death, is Allah's. They know this. They attribute the ability of life and death to Allah. But the small things in life, feeding, drinking, they don't attribute this to Allah. They don't say Alhamdulillah, that's Allah's the one who fed me. They attribute that to themselves. So he emphasizes these things by saying he. Listen to the verse. Who has created me? He doesn't say he. Doesn't say he. Because they know that it's Allah who creates me. But then when he says the next thing, it is he who guides me. Something they take for granted every day. They walk down the road, they forgot where this place was, and they found it. It was Allah who guided them. It is he who guides me. And it is he who feeds me and gives me to drink. It is he who feeds me and gives me to drink. Then suddenly there's a change in the style. And when I am ill, change. Instead of he saying I, myself, when I am ill, it is he who cures me. He could have said, it is he who caused me to become ill, and it is he who cures me. He could have said that. He suddenly changed the pattern of his speech. What's going on? Because we as believers should always be positive, should be hopeful in the qadr of Allah. He's saying, the more accurate translation, when I have become ill, it is Allah who cures me. He could have said when Allah causes me to become ill. He didn't say that. He wants us to be positive in the outcomes of our life. That Allah will bestow favors upon you. That is the nature of a believer. That we are positive. And this is substantiated in a hadith found in Sahih Bukhari. It's hadith al-Qudsi, meaning that we know that hadith is the words of the Prophet, whereas the Quran is the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But at times, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam quotes Allah. He quotes Allah. When you have a hadith like that, that's referred to as hadith al-Qudsi. So he says in this hadith, quoting Allah, that I am what my servant thinks of me. Meaning that if you're positive in my approach, if you feel that I will bestow favors upon you, then that's what's going to happen. And then the ayah continues. And who will, so he doesn't say he now, and who will cause me to die and bring me to life? So he said he for everything except for life and death. He's emphasizing the small things in life. Don't forget that Allah is responsible for those things too. the art of speech. Second thing I forgot to mention last week was regarding the fire. We spoke about it in quite detail, obviously. Repeat the ayah again. Surah 21 verse 69. We said, O fire, be coolness and peace for Ibrahim. There's two parts to this ayah. Coolness and peace. When Allah gave the command, this is according to tafsir, when Allah gave the command to the fire to be cool, it wasn't only that fire, but it was every fire on the face of the earth that lost the ability to burn. And remember how I've said repeatedly that the punishment is connected to the crime, right? What's their crime? They're trying to burn the Prophet of Allah. So Allah takes away the ability to burn anything. Subhanallah. And then the ayah continues. And peace. And be peace for Ibrahim alayhi salam. But was it only peace? Was it just peace for him? It was more than that. It was even pleasure. Why? Think about it. I'm sure all of you, at one point in time, specifically when you were young, you were fascinated with fire. It roused your attention. Probably, perhaps at one point in time, definitely, I'm sure, yeah. I can't speak for you guys, but I can speak for myself. That you wanted to touch it, but you can't because it burns you. You wanted to touch it. Ibrahim a.s. is living the dream. He's engulfed in fire and he's not getting burnt. Subhanallah. And he was a very young age at this time. So can you imagine how exciting it was for him? How pleasurable. So this is an amazing miracle. And this is international. The fact that every fire on earth stopped working, stopped burning, is an international, it's a global sign to the world that the one you're trying to burn is a prophet from Allah. Because no one else was a believer anyways, and he traveled, and we're going to see this today inshaAllah, he traveled from place to place. So they had to believe in him. So the world had to wake up. International sign. Continue directly from where we left off. So Nimrod was just destroyed. And Allah bestowed upon Ibrahim a.s. a fantastic miracle. And now, at this juncture, they've just tried to kill him. Yeah? The king also didn't like him. He wanted him dead, but Allah took care of him. But the people, they wouldn't have it anymore. He needed to go. And so, he was going to leave. Even after this fantastic miracle of the fire, no one believed him. No one. He was by himself. Except one. Surah 29 verse 26. But Lut had faith in him. He said, I will leave home for the sake of my Lord, for he is exalted in might and wise. Who is Lut? The biblical name, Lot. The most popular opinion, there's two opinions. The most popular opinion is that Lut is his nephew. That Lut is the son of Haran. And who is Haran? Haran is the older brother of Ibrahim who died. He died, and so Lut was adopted by the family of Ibrahim. They grew up together. That's one opinion. Other opinion is that Haran wasn't the brother of Ibrahim, but the brother of his father. Yeah? So in other words, Haran was his uncle, making Lut his paternal cousin. Irrespective of which opinion is correct, we know that Lut is a family member of Ibrahim, and that he grew up with him. So that remains. And that's what's important. Yeah? They grew up together. So this was a mercy upon Ibrahim a.s. that a family member of his did, alhamdulillah, accept and followed him. So the ayah mentions that I will leave home for the sake of my Lord. Hijrah. Scholars say from this that Ibrahim a.s. was the first person to make hijrah for the sake of Allah. Allah knows best, but this is what they say. This is the understanding of the ayah. Surah 21 verse 71. And we delivered him and Lot to the land which has been blessed for the worlds. Subhanallah. To the land which has been blessed for the worlds. What's this blessed land Allah is talking about? You need to first understand something. It is from Allah's sunnah. It is from Allah's way that He singles out. He singles out persons, time and locations from His creation. Yeah, I mean, in regards to persons, you know by now, hopefully, that among the believers, Allah has singled out certain individuals and assigned them prophethood. And among the prophets, and according to one narration, 124,000, among them, Allah has assigned messengers, 315, according to one narration. And among the 315 messengers, Allah assigned even a higher rank, Ulul Azm. And we mentioned the 5 already. We've only come across 2, Noah and Ibrahim, alayhi salam. Ulul Azm, meaning the messengers of high level of perseverance. And then among these 5, 2 were singled out as the Khalil of Allah, Khalilullah, the friend of Allah. And Ibrahim alayhi salam is one of them. We haven't come across the second one yet. So that's in regards to persons. There's other examples as well. Regard to time, I won't go into it, but we'll go into it later inshaAllah. But one example would be days of the week. Among the 7 days of the week, Allah singled out Friday. And then within Friday, there's even a segment of the day where your dua is more effective. So time gets singled out. There's several examples regarding time. But what I want to drive home today is regarding land, regarding location. The entire surface of the earth, Allah has singled out certain portions. And we've come across most of them so far. We've come across most of them so far in this series. We've mentioned Yemen, Babylon, today Iraq, Egypt. And then you have the Hijaz. What is the Hijaz? It's if you picture Saudi Arabia, the land that borders the Red Sea, the land that borders the sea that divides between Saudi Arabia and Africa, that land is the Hijaz. Okay? Allah also singles out specific locations, specific cities within those regions. So within the Hijaz, you have 2 cities, Mecca and Medina. Alright? So these places have been singled out. I haven't mentioned 2 other places yet, because they haven't come in the series yet. I'll mention now actually, Khorasan is another place, and we have addressed it in the series once. The land of Canaan. What is Canaan? Who is Canaan? One of the descendants of Ham, like you mentioned earlier, Ham is the ancestor of Nimrod. He had a son called Canaan. His descendants settled in this region. So the land was named after that place, Canaan. But we know it by another name, by the Arabic, Bilad Asham, the land of Asham. It's been segmented and broken up today. But if I were to give you an estimate, it would comprise of the following countries: Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Palestine, portions of Iraq, and portions of the south of Turkey. This region altogether was one land called Canaan. The scholars, not all of them, this is an opinion, and we're going to see how strong this opinion is as we go further in the series. They say that whenever Allah mentions the blessed land, the holy land in the Quran, Allah is specifically speaking about this place, Asham. That's how important it is. Alright? So of all the places Allah has blessed, has singled out, it was this place that He was to go next. Now, the borders regarding Asham, where it ends, where it meets, where's the line drawn, it's disputed. I give you an estimate by naming these countries, but it's disputed. But the largest estimate, so that you know that Asham at least falls within this region, the largest estimate is between the 2 rivers, Euphrates, which is found in Iraq, it cuts through Iraq, and the Nile, which cuts through Egypt. Between these 2 rivers is Asham. That's the largest estimation. This land is referred to as something else. Land of Zion. And this is where Zionism comes from. The word Zionism comes from this word, Zion. Zionism is the political movement to liberate this land from Muslim hands into the hands of the Zionists. There's a difference between Jew and Zionist. We're going to discuss that later. Yeah? Not every Zionist is a Jew. Not every Jew is a Zionist. Okay? They even argue that the flag, the Israel flag, is a Zionist flag. That if you picture the flag right now, Star of David in the middle, right? But then you have 2 blue lines, one above, one below, representing each river. So the land between is Zion. Yeah, if you can picture it. So Allah knows best. Yeah, we'll leave it up to them, the experts, to deal with that, inshallah. In a hadith narrated by Zayd ibn Thabit al-Ansari, found in Tirmidhi, he said that Asham, Canaan, that Muhammad ﷺ said that blessings be to Hashem, blessings be to Hashem, blessings be to Hashem. He repeated it 3 times. The companion said, "Why, O Messenger of Allah?" And so he responded, "Blessings be to Hashem. The angels of Allah, they spread their wings over this region." So this is no ordinary place. But within Asham, there's 2 cities that are singled out, Damascus and Jerusalem. And Ibrahim al-Islam went to Damascus. Surah 95, verse 1. By the fig and the olive, by the Mount Sinai and by the city of security. We've discussed before that when Allah swears by an object, by a creation, because He can only swear by a creation because He's the only creator, there's only one creator, which is Allah. When He swears by something, it symbolizes, it demonstrates to us the importance of the thing He's swearing by, right? The thing He swears by, that must be important to us, for Allah to swear by it. In this case, Allah is swearing by something very strange, something that we perceive as insignificant. The fig. Fig is this fruit. It's a fruit. Nothing special. I mean, that's how people generally perceive the fig. It's just a fruit, just like another food item. So why would Allah swear by it? Scholars say this is no fig, but the fig is symbolizing Damascus. Allah is swearing by Damascus, and the olive is Palestine, and Allah is swearing by Palestine. And one of the reasons to defend this opinion is that after this, Allah starts swearing by locations. By the fig, by the olive, by the Mount Sinai, and by the city of security. They believe this is Mecca. And you understand why that's the city of security. It's quite obvious afterwards, later in the series. You wouldn't deny that. So, Allah is swearing by locations. That's the theme of the surah. The very surah is named after the fig. The surah is called a fig. The fig. Yeah? So there's a surah named after Damascus. Allah swears by Damascus. This is no ordinary place. I went to Turkey about 2 years ago, right? About 2 years ago, we went to a city called Ephesus. Ancient city. It was amazing. It was amazing. We were told we're walking into a city on steps, on grounds, looking at buildings and walls that date back to about 500 BC. So in other words, it's over 2,000 years old, that city. And I was astounded. This was amazing to me. Such an ancient city. And then you have like even older places. In India, they brag that, okay, this place is very old. The oldest place you can find is in India. They'll argue this is about 3,000 BC. It's about 4,000 BC over here. City and remains. Yeah. Damascus is argued as the oldest city on the face of the earth. They found regions of it, buildings, remains of buildings that date back to 9,000 BC. So if our calculations are correct, as Muslim geologists and biblical genealogists, if their calculations are correct, then this predates the flood. That's how old the city is. Subhanallah. Yeah? So this is no ordinary city. Now when he got there, when Ibrahim al-Islam got there, he saw something strange. They would worship stars. They would worship things they would see in the sky. Right? And not only that, they would sacrifice to these celestial objects on altars. They had 7 altars, and they're referred to as the gates of Damascus. Damascus, around it, was like a wall, but by now it's broken down. And there's only 7 gates that you can enter through. Today, all have been destroyed through time, except one. One remains. Yeah? So if you see that gate, then you're perhaps seeing something that Ibrahim al-Islam saw for himself. SubhanAllah. Yeah? So, Surah 6, verse 76. When the night covered him over with darkness, he saw a star. He said, "This is my Lord." But when it set, he said, "I like not those that set." He's tapping into the psyche of the people once again. He understands his audience. They worship stars. So instead of having the approach of, look, I'm different, I'm a newcomer here, it wouldn't go smoothly if you do that. So he's trying to say, look, we're similar, relax. Yeah? You worship stars? Okay. So now they're thinking he's one of us. So he's got their attention. He's got their attention. But The word used here, translated as star, right? But the Arabic word for star is najm. Okay? But in this ayah, Allah didn't say najm. Allah said kawa, which doesn't mean star. It means a celestial object. It means something in the sky that you see. Yeah? At that time, anything you see in the sky, it didn't have telescopes. They didn't have telescopes. They would perceive everything as a star, right? Apart from the moon and the sun. They don't realize the sun is also a type of star. It's a star as well. So they perceive everything as a star. If a comet is coming down, yeah, we would say it's a comet, it's an asteroid. They would say shooting star. It's all stars to them, right? They couldn't tell the difference. This is one of the miracles of the Quran. That Allah used the word kawa. Because what did he see? Before, he said the moment the night came, that's what he's saying. The moment the night came, I saw this thing. I didn't see anything, I saw this. What did he see? He saw Venus. And it's referred to as the morning star and the evening star, depending what time of day you see it. You can see in the morning, you can see it in the evening. Right? And they used to worship this. This corresponds with archaeological evidence. These people used to worship Venus. SubhanAllah. Right? After that, he sees the moon. The moon comes into the picture. And so he tells everybody, I've changed my mind. Listen to the ayah. When he saw the moon rising up, he said, this is my Lord. But when it set, he said, unless my Lord guides me, I shall surely be among the erring people. This is very interesting. He changed his mind. It's a revolution for them. They're under the impression that you have to follow what your parents follow. He's saying, no. I changed my mind. I'm applying logic. I'm applying rationale. I'm applying my mind. Through reason, you can discover the truth. Through reason. He said it's set. I'm applying reasoning here. No. That can't be right. That can't be my Lord. And you see something bigger than what he saw. Venus is so far away. It's smaller than the moon. Yeah, as from our perspective, we know it's not. Yeah, so something bigger comes in their view, and he's saying, no, my Lord must be greater than what I thought previously. It must be this object. So religion is a choice. The ayah continues. When he saw the sun rising up, he said, this is my Lord, this is greater. But when it set, he said, O my people, I am indeed free from all that you join as partners in worship with Allah. So if you have any doubt, this guy can make shirk now. No. He ends it with this statement. He ends it with a statement of Tawheed. Yeah? He ends it by clarifying to anyone who has a misconception regarding the story, I dissociate myself from all this shirk. Indeed, I've turned my face towards He who created the heavens and the earth, inclining towards truth. And I am not of those who associate others with Allah. So it got bigger every time. First to see the morning star, Venus. And then he saw the moon. And then he saw the sun. It got bigger every time. He's applying logic. He's applying reason. But not only that, Ibrahim a.s. is teaching us. He's teaching us how to identify your Lord. Because when he looked into the sky, what did he say? He said he saw nothing except the Venus. Now we all know, he didn't say we saw nothing, but he only spoke about Venus as if it's the only thing he could see. Now we know when you look into the sky, there's many stars. There's hundreds of things you can look at, right? So why did he only mention Venus? Because at that point in time, at that early hour of the night, it's Venus that shines the brightest. This is why he needs to worship it. Venus would shine very brightly. It would grasp everyone's attention. It would occupy their mind. It would be the center of their attention at that point in time. And so he's saying, whatever is the center of your mind, whatever occupies your mind during your day, during your week, is your Lord. That's what he's telling us. That's what he's teaching us. How to identify your Lord. Until you understand this, you won't find khushu' in your salah. You won't find concentration. You won't achieve focus in your salah until you understand what I'm saying. Why? Because whatever you think about outside your salah, you'll be thinking about in salah. Whatever occupies your mind outside the salah during your day, that's what you'll be thinking about in your salah. Do you understand? Yeah? So what is your Lord? If you're praying, but you're not thinking about Allah, then who's your Lord? But then he says something else. Listen to the ayah again, inshaAllah. Surah 6, verse 79. When the night covered him over with darkness, he saw a star. He saw a star. He only saw one. To him, he's only seeing one thing. It's the only thing that's shining brightly. he said, "This is my Lord." But when it set, he said, "I like not those that set." SubhanAllah. He's still teaching us what it means, how to identify your Lord. What do people think about during the day? Their money. What happens to money? It comes and it goes. It sets. What happens to beauty? People worship beauty. Their own beauty or the beauty of their wife. It comes and it goes. It sets. Right? Your friends, your relationships. Other people like Nimrod. They worshipped him, but he set. He died. Ibrahim a.s. is saying, think. Eliminate all these things that you consider your Lord. Eliminate it because they're all set. Take as your Lord the one that does not set, which is Allah. He does not set. He doesn't fade. He's everlasting. He's ever living. And this also demonstrates to us that it's from the Sunnah to reflect on the creation of Allah. It is from the Sunnah. Ibrahim a.s. was reflecting. He was thinking. He was contemplating. And so we should also adopt the Sunnah. Now, scholars, not all scholars, but many Mufassirun, they're under the impression that this story is Ibrahim a.s. soul searching. That he's trying to find the truth. He's trying to identify who the Lord is. Yeah? But Ibn Kathir, among others obviously, but Ibn Kathir, he strongly opposes this viewpoint. That no, this cannot be correct. Rather, this was a dawah presentation. He was giving dawah to the people who are listening, who are watching. Right? And one of the evidences for this is how the story begins. This is the first ayah to the story. This is how Allah introduces the story. Surah 6 verse 75. Thus did we show Ibrahim the kingdom of the heavens and the earth, that he be one of those who have faith with certainty. SubhanAllah. What has Allah shown him? Things, information, knowledge that people such as Stephen Hawking, Albert Einstein, Isaac Newton, been searching for, dedicate their whole life to find. Allah gave it to Ibrahim. Like it was nothing. Knowledge of the heavens and the earth. This is what Allah is saying. The extent of the knowledge we don't know. But it was enough for him to know that what he's seeing in the sky, these are nothing. They're nowhere near to be rated as Lord. Okay, they're just creations of Allah. And so he walked into this dawah presentation with certain knowledge. So Allah said, so that he may have faith with certainty. Words of the Quran. And so this alone refutes their perception of this story. Now notice how Ibrahim a.s., he would physically invest himself in the dawah. His dawah is different. It wasn't marginalized to be purely oral. Take for instance when he was in Babylon, he smashes the idol. Yeah? Here he's engaging with them. He's doing some kind of presentation here. So we must also exhaust whatever we can, whatever's within our means in the field of dawah, inshaAllah. And I've mentioned this many times, so I want to elaborate upon that. It should be clear by now, inshaAllah. And remember how I said before that you understand the ayah, and I mentioned this in the story of Saleh, that you can fully appreciate a story in the Quran or an ayah in the Quran if you read it in the context. That the Quran, the stories in the Quran are not just randomly placed. That there is a connection to the rest of the surah. Yeah? Even though it's not apparent at first. In this case, if you read the previous ayahs, Allah's talking about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, commanding him to give dawah to the mushriks, give dawah to the polytheists, give dawah to the Meccans, give dawah to these people who are worshipping idols non-stop. And then suddenly Allah jumps to the story. Why? Because now Allah, after Allah has given the command to give dawah to them, to these polytheists, Allah shows how Ibrahim did it. Allah's teaching Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam how to give dawah, how to type into the psyche of the polytheist. Okay? And this is quite of a contrast between this specific dawah and the one he did in Syria. There's a big contrast, big difference to the one he gave in Babylon. Babylon one was very harsh, like, smashing the idols. This one was very eloquent, very soft. And this tells us something, that our dawah shouldn't be universal. It shouldn't be that we're constantly soft in our dawah or constantly harsh in our dawah. You have to apply it to the situation. Why? Because in this case, the Babylonians, their shirk was obvious. They're worshipping idols. It doesn't speak, doesn't talk. And so you need to wake them up. Yeah, he needed to be harsh. But whereas regarding these people in Syria, they used to worship something that they don't know, they have no knowledge about. These stars, what is it? The fact that it's out there, you can see all of us, that's their perspective. It wasn't that clear to them that what they're worshipping has no power of it on its own. So his dawah was soft. And so likewise, we should also realize that you have to play to your audience. Now, the same thing occurred. No one accepted him. Same thing. Babylon, no one accepted him, except Lut, alayhi salam. And now no one accepted him in Asham, except one, Sarah, who he married. Her name, Sarah, in the Hebrew, it means princess. This alludes to two things. One is that she was a princess, and there is some opinions that she was the daughter of the king of Hebron. Hebron is a region in Asham, south of Jerusalem. And the other opinion is this, that this alludes to her beauty. The scholars say, the Mufassirin say, that she was the most beautiful woman on the face of the earth after Hawa. So she's number 2. Hawa's number 1, and she's number 2. And she was so immensely beautiful that when she used to travel, she would travel like Aisha. Aisha, when she used to travel in a conveyance, in like a cabinet. It would conceal her. They wouldn't even know she's in there. One time she was left, yeah, because they didn't know she wasn't inside the box. It was like a box, and it would be mounted on a camel or a horse, yeah, whatever the animal would be. And so her beauty was concealed. Sarah would travel like in this manner, due to her immense beauty. Her beauty was so immense that it caused a fitna, caused a problem. It was a test, which you're going to see in a bit. We spoke about Sarah's beauty, but how does Ibrahim look like? Yeah, was he a catch? Well, I mean, it's only fair. I know you're smiling, but it's only fair, isn't it? Let's be honest, it's only fair, yeah? You're only human. Regarding Ibrahim Muhammad has seen Ibrahim. When he went up to 7 heavens, Isra al-Miraj, the night journey, he went up to 7 heavens. And on the 7th heaven, he saw Ibrahim So he had the honor of seeing Ibrahim. And so when the Sahaba were curious, how does he look like? And so Muhammad responded, if you want to know, look at me. The two look similar. And we know Muhammad was quite handsome, mashallah. So, yeah, match made in heaven. Yeah, as they say. Yeah? Alhamdulillah. Famine struck the land. Famine struck Asham. Okay? They got a problem now. That was a sign to them, you need to vacate. You need to move on. Okay? Your Syria dawah, mashallah, a good try, but it didn't work. You need to move on now. And so they went to Egypt. At the borders of Egypt. This is according to Mufassirin. According to the scholars of Tafsir, Jibreel came with a warning. Hold up. There's a king, there's a Jabbar, there's a leader here who rules this territory, and he's an evil one. What he does, when he's attracted to a woman, he would take her for himself and kill the husband. So hearing this, Ibrahim knows, okay, I'm in trouble for sure. Yeah, I'm in trouble. Alright? And so he approaches Sarah. And by the way, this isn't a hadith, this story. Okay? It's narrated by Abu Hurairah, and it's found in Sahih Bukhari. It's found in other places as well. Okay? It's found in Sahih Muslim and other places. He approaches Sarah and said, I'm going to say you're my sister. So you go along with that. If they ask you, you give the same reply. This is line number 3. 2 weeks ago we covered the first 2 lines. Muhammad said in a hadith that Ibrahim spoke the truth except 3. Except 3 moments what he uttered wasn't truth. Okay, this is what Muhammad is saying. Number 1 was when he said, I'm sick. And this is in the Quran, I'm sick. He needed an excuse to stay behind to do his plan, to destroy the idols. What he meant was that he's sick in the sense that I don't like this all this shirk around me. They understood that he's medically ill. He hasn't got the energy. Line number 2, when he was asked who destroyed the idols and he said the big one did it. That's line number 2. Muhammad says in the hadith that these 2 were for the sake of Allah. It was for the sake of Allah. It was for dawah. This one, he said, this is because he wants to save his life. Now this sounds out of character. Last week we spoke about him willingly going to the fire and now trying to save his life. But it's clear from the story that he's not someone who's fearful for his life. He's willingly to give up his life for the sake of Allah. So what's going on? as you go further in the hadith, he goes on to say to Sarah, you and me were the only ones. The fact that I'm saying brother to you is logical because we are Muslims. You're my sister in the deen. I'm your brother in the deen. But not only that, we're the only brother and sister. Regarding the ummah, there's no one else. There's no one else. Right? Yeah? Generally, yeah. Obviously it's Lut, and there were few other followers, there were. Yeah, some Mufassirin say there were a few others. But generally we're the only ones. And if something happens to either of us, our project here, our mission, I'm on a mission. It's gonna flop. I've come here to give dawah to Egypt, and if I die, the mission goes. He doesn't want to stand before his Lord and say, I failed, I didn't try my level best to fulfill this mission that you bestowed upon me. So this is for the sake of Allah. We've explained in the last two talks, we have the two talks ago, we have explained the first two lies, okay, and that they weren't really lies if you analyze it, yeah. And this was not really a lie either, if you analyze it. And you're also permissible. You're permitted to lie anyways at the moment of death. When you feel that your life's on the line, you're permitted to lie at that moment and be excused for it. Then who's calling it a lie? Because it wasn't Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He said he spoke the truth, except for three. Look at the wording. So what? Who is calling it a lie? It was Ibrahim Alayhi Salam. That's how modest he is. Because when Allah introduces Ibrahim Alayhi Salam in the Quran, he says Ibrahim was truthful. So the only one who called it a lie, these three moments, was Ibrahim. When we, this is in, we've narrated this hadith many times, narrated by Anas bin Malik, found in Sahih Muslim. Then when we approach in the day of judgment, we'd be so fearful we would look for someone to intercede for us on the day. So we go to Adam, and he says, no, I'm disqualified. I can't intercede for you because I ate from the tree. Then we go to Noah, and he said, no, I can't do that for you either because my dua caused a whole flood to destroy everybody. Some narrations say it's because he wanted to let his son on the ship, the disbelieving son. And then we go to Ibrahim Alayhi Salam, and he says, I can't intercede for you today because I lied 3 times. The only time when someone said Ibrahim Alayhi Salam lied. So don't say he lied, because the only one who said he lied was Ibrahim, because he's modest. That's how modest he is. But he's also teaching us something. He's teaching us what he defines as a lie. He's defining everything as a lie. He's saying that even though I said something, knowing that they understood something else from it is a lie. And Allah knows best. So Jibreel is warning, he's warning Sarah, he's warning Ibrahim at the border of Egypt. And he tells them, that's not all. What I've told you so far is not the end of the story. The guards of this king, of this leader, has sighted Sarah already and informed him that a woman has entered this country of immense beauty. And so he takes her, the king takes her into his palace. He's planning to sleep with her. At that moment she does wudu and makes a dua. There are several things you can do to make your dua more effective, and one of those things is wudu. Wudu, you don't have to be in wudu to make dua, but if you're in a state of wudu and you make dua, your dua is more effective. And so she does this, and she makes a dua. And her dua is quite strange. We're going to analyze it, inshaAllah. She says that if you know, oh Allah, if you know that I'm a Muslim, that I'm a believer, and that I've accepted your messenger as a prophet, and that I have retained, I have kept, I have sealed, I have protected my chastity, if you know these things to be true about me, then protect me. And so when the king stretches his hand forward towards her with ill intent, with evil intent, with the intent to commit zina, to rape her, essentially, the nerves in his hands cease to function. Frozen in place, paralyzed. And this guy freaks out. He begins to panic. He falls to the ground. He's kicking his legs with his arms. He thinks he's dying, basically. So at this moment, Sarah's a bit fearful, like, whoa. And she makes dua, oh Allah, please, switch it back. Take away this condition from him. She was scared that they may charge her with regicide, meaning to kill the king. Okay? They may charge her for this, because it's only her and him. It's the only conclusion they can come to. And so he was back to normal. He regained full functionality. He thought it was a fluke. Seeing her beauty as well, it overcome him. He tries it again. Same thing happens. His hand freezes in place because she makes dua again. But it wasn't just the hand. Some narrations say even the legs stopped functioning now. It was getting worse. And he begged her, make dua to your Lord again for me. And I won't do anything this time. And so she made dua. And he tried it a third time. And the third time he froze. His whole body ceased to function. And then he promised, you'll be free. If you just take this illness from me, you'll be free. I won't hurt you at all. And she made dua. Can we do this? Can we make dua in this manner? She's referring to a good deed she did. There's a hadith, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with this hadith, yeah? I'm sure most of you are familiar with this hadith, but I'll narrate it nonetheless because it's one of my favorites. In Sahih Bukhari, narrated by Abdullah ibn Umar, that 3 men faced with a storm, they took refuge in a cave. At that moment, a rock, a boulder, rolled down the mountain and sealed them shut in the cave. No escape. And so they said among themselves, only making dua to Allah in reference to our good deeds can save us right now. We have to make dua. There's nothing else. And so the first man makes his dua. That, oh Allah, I am not in the habit of feeding my family in regards to the milk. They used to have animals, and they would drink the milk from these animals. He's saying, I'm not in the habit to do that. It's a bit hard on me to do this. It's a trial. It takes effort. But one night, out of the qadr of Allah, I reached home late and found them not quenched with the milk. The animals haven't been milked. And so he milked them that night. And when he brought the milk, the bowl of milk to his family, he found them sleeping. And so it hurt him. It hurt him for him to drink the milk before his family. And so he waited until the sun rose up. And then he fed them the milk. Oh Allah, if I did this for you, if you know I did this for your sake, save us. And then the boulder moved slightly. The second man approaches. The second man says in his dua, oh Allah, there was a cousin of mine who was most beloved to me. But I was attracted to her and I wanted to commit zina with her. And a famine struck. She was needy, she needed help. I had the money. I offered to give her money, provided that you sleep with me. Okay, fine, I'll give you the money, but you have to sleep with me. She agreed. She was desperate. So at the moment, the date and the time when they agreed to sleep with each other, she said, fear Allah. Allow me to preserve my chastity. And at that moment, oh Allah, I prevented myself and I gave her the money. If I did that for your sake, save us. And the boulder shifted a little bit. But it wasn't enough. So the third man approached and he made his dua. He said that I employed a few people. When their wages due, I paid them. But a man came, worked for me and he left. He left without taking any money. He didn't take what he was owed to him. And so with that money, I invested it. And the business was fruitful. Later on, the man comes back and he asks for his money. And so, the man making the dua, he says that, you see those cows, the sheep, those servants, you see all of that? That's the product. That's the result of the investment of the money that was owed to you. It is all yours. And the man, he took everything, it didn't leave anything for him. He took it all and left. Oh Allah, if I refrained myself from objecting, if I allowed him, permitted him to take everything for your sake, then save us. And the boulder moved and they escaped. Alhamdulillah. So Imam Sallallahu narrates this as a truthful event, as a historical event that happened before his time. So this is used as evidence that we can use a good deed in our past as a reference in our dua to make it more effective. So we've covered 2 things that makes the dua more effective, and we're going to be covering a third soon, inshaAllah. Now, if what I'm saying is true, this implies something great. It implies something scary. That if it wasn't for Sarah preserving her chastity, she would have been raped. Do you understand? She would have been raped. And so, just as I've often repeated that the punishment is connected to the crime, the reward is connected to your good deed as well. You preserve your chastity, Allah will preserve your chastity, if that's what you want. And vice versa. Subhanallah. And so the king, he was sickened by this experience of Sarah. He wanted her gone. The moment she made her last dua and freed him from this condition, she said, you're a shaitan. She thought she was a devil. That all these things are happening to me just by going near this woman. Allah was preserving her. Often she's likened to Khadija, the first wife of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why? Because Khadija was his first supporter, just as Sarah, and his only one, just as Sarah. Okay, so the righteousness of this woman caused a man with ill intent to be paralyzed. Subhanallah. And so he was so fearful of this woman. She wanted her out the country. Forget the palace. She wanted her out, and she gave something to her. She gave a woman to her, Hajar, as a gift. Take her. I want to ward off this evil from me. Take her. And so now you have this stranger entering the lives of Ibrahim as-salam and Sarah. And Hajar, subhanAllah, Hajar means, scholars say that her name, Hajar, is derived from the Arabic phrase Ha Ajruka, which means to be given a gift from Allah. Okay? To be given a gift. That's exactly what happened. So she fulfilled her name at that moment. So who is this person? Who's this mysterious character now in their lives? Because if you think about it, where was she living, Hajar? She was living in the palace. Irrespective if you think she was a servant there or someone else, she was living a lapse of luxury. And now she's on the road. She's on the road with Ibrahim and Sarah, and no one likes them. Yeah? So she's reached rock bottom. In fact, scholars say, some scholars say this, that she was a princess. Hajar was a princess herself. And that she was the only one of a good nature, of a good character. That she was righteous, and the rest didn't like her for this. She didn't mend with the rest of society. It's a clash here. Everyone's so evil and so indulged in the shirk and the disobedience of Allah and the zina, and she's something else entirely. They didn't want her to begin with, and that's why the king gave her away. So she's living in this palace, and now she's living as a slave. Yeah, on the road. You'd say that her life has turned for the worst, right? That's the impression you would get. No. This couldn't be further from the truth. Because the reality is this, that it's better to be a slave in the house of a prophet than to be a prince or a princess in a palace. And we have proof for this. When Zayd ibn Haritha, when he was young, he was abducted. He was abducted and then sold as a slave, far from his homeland. And the one who purchased him was Khadija. And so he lived as a servant, as a slave in the house of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Years go by, and this family of his, concerned naturally, tracked him down. Look at the qadr of Allah. They tracked him down, they found him. And they asked the owner, "Oh Muhammad, will you give our son back?" And he said wisely that if he wants to go back, take him. He's your child. Zayd ibn Haritha said, "No. Oh father, it is more beloved to me to be as a servant under this man than to live as a son with you." Who are these people? They tracked him down. They crossed borders to find him. They loved him, obviously. And not only that, at this time, at this moment, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not even a prophet yet. This is before prophethood. And so this is the qadr of Allah. This is the qadr of Allah that Hajar would lead, living a life of righteousness, immersed in shirk, so Allah found a way for her. Allah found a way for her to reach the Prophet. Yeah? Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. They leave Egypt. And they settle within Asham, they settle back. And years go by. And alhamdulillah, he's got a wife, mashallah, and Mufassirin say he's doing okay, alhamdulillah, regarding money-wise. He's doing fine. But there's something missing in his life. He reaches the age of 80. but he has no son. He has no children. And we can see that he wants one, because whenever you read a dua in the Quran regarding Ibrahim alayhi salam, it's always to do with children. He's always asking for children. Subhanallah. Day in and day out, up to the age of 80, it's clear to him that his wife is barren. It's clear to him that Sarah is akim, meaning barren. She's incapable of giving birth. It's been 80 years now. And yet he continues the dua. We should never lose hope. We should always be positive. Okay? This will be a constant theme, by the way, in the next few stories. Always keep hope. And so he kept hope. Sarah, seeing his beloved husband, her beloved husband, in this state, childless, she committed an act of selflessness. Tremendous act. Unbelievable. When a man, and it's permissible for a man to marry a second wife, right? It's permissible. So when a man comes home and says, honey, I have a second wife, I got married. That's the most devastating thing to a woman. Even if it's permissible. Yeah? Because this is the nature of women. It's not easy for them to do this. This is the hardest thing. Even specifically in this day of age, yeah, when the polygamy is not even in the culture. It's not in the culture. Yeah? This would be devastating. But Sarah did the exact opposite. The exact opposite occurred. She comes home and says, I have a second wife for you. Take Hajar as your wife. Perhaps Allah will grant you children through her. Amazing. Look at the iman of these people. So Hajar now is the second wife to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Narrated by Ibn Abbas, found in Sahih Bukhari, that Hajar was the first to use a girdle. Those who don't know what a girdle is, yeah? It's a piece of clothing that women wear, right? So she was the first to use that. She, using this girdle, she should wear the girdle obviously, yeah, but so now and then what she would do, using the girdle, she would dissipate the footprints, her own footprints. She would conceal any sign of her involvement with Ibrahim alayhi salam. She's permissible to be involved with Ibrahim alayhi salam because she's his second wife. So why is she doing this? This demonstrates wisdom in our character. We as Muslims should always behave like this, in fact. As parents, for example, suppose you give a gift to your son, to one of your children. That's great. But you should do it in a certain way. If you do it in front of other children, they'll become jealous. So you have to be sensitive of other people's feelings. It's not just within the household, within brothers, whatever, wherever. And so Hajar was concerned and conscious about the feelings of her fellow members in the house, within the family. Her co-wife Sarah. Allah granted Hajar a son. Okay? Allah granted Hajar a son. Allah has answered this long, over 70 years of dua. Yeah? Ibrahim is asking Allah for a son this whole time, for a child. And Allah has granted it. And so the son was named Ishmael, meaning that Allah has responded. So the existence of Ishmael is his fulfillment of his name.